Another tough clutch game loss for the Philadelphia 76ers as they lose to the Atlanta Hawks 120-117. This is the PHLY Sixers postgame show presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Along with Derek, I'm Devon. Bree is producing, the president of basketball operations. All of you livid, I know, in the chat after that one. The Sixers back and forth in this basketball game. We'll talk about so many things, from the temperature check from Ace Hardware, the unsung hero from Togo. Of course, you'll get our normal reads throughout the show as well. We'll discuss some other individual performances here this evening. But we first have to start off with, as this one is going on, we got to get the main thing in there. There was so many other things to talk about. First of all, let's do the main thing here with Derek to start things off here on the post-game show. Then we'll get to some of the other things.
So real quick before we get to that, you said that a lot of people are going to be upset. I'm curious what was your take on what people will be upset about? Well,
the fact that, number one, that they continue to do what they do all season, which is not the third quarter, just the seesaw game of it all, where they're back and forth. Number one, you had missed opportunities like the Andre Drummond three from the top of the key, where you're right there and right, people ticked off about something like that. Missed layup chances that they had in this one. Of course, the shooting overall, Joel had a pretty good game, 22-14, but with the numbers, and we saw what we saw with the people who watched the game. Probably could have had 30-14 instead of finishing with the 22-14. I was trying to wait and set it up just so I can change things up just a little bit before we get to the main thing. So, Bree, if you could on the fly, I know I said one thing before the show, but could we change the Togo?
I screw everything up.
Could we change the Togo unsung hero here early so we can start things off with the Togo unsung hero? Because Derek, as you said it, and as we were talking about it, I wanted to change things up with the Togo unsung hero of the night. And that would be, as you just asked the question, Derek, of why would people be upset? The blatant miscall by the officials there.
Thank you. Because that was exactly, certainly the Sixers weren't perfect in this game.
No. Neither team was perfect.
But the only thing that really pissed me off were the refs. You cannot miss that backcourt violation under no circumstance. And I'm glad you went that way, because I was specifically in terms of fans being pissed off. The one thing you should truly be pissed off about are the refs. 1 point game, you have to be watching the backcourt with an eagle eye. That's one of the three things you're watching in that scenario. You can't miss it. For it to be that blatant and for them to miss it, absolutely clown show. Absolutely unacceptable.
So look, let's just start off right there, because we'll get back to the main thing of VJ Edgecombe, because he was phenomenal in how he fought through everything. But the unsung hero presented by Togo, once again, one of our sponsors here, presented by Togo, a leader in operations outsourcing. The issue that I had there, and normally, right, we talk about officials and we don't get too up in arms about them because the things play out the way they're supposed to within the game. They're calling things both way, but it was so obvious because here was their first mistake, Derek. VJ Edgecombe fouled Nickeil Alexander-Walker and they did not call it. Therefore, when he ran into the backcourt on an inbounds in one end of the floor, obvious, that's a backcourt violation. They blew the whistle after the fact. He was about two steps beyond the the half court line when they officially blew the whistle for that infraction. So for that, the Sixers get the ball back with 7 seconds left on the clock, however much time was left on the clock. They get the basketball back with an opportunity to do whatever play they're going to run and see what happens. You had a hot hand from Paul George. Quentin Grimes did hit some big shots. And VJ Edgecombe, also, who we'll talk about with the main thing, had it going on. They would have given themselves an opportunity once again, even if they got to the foul line and they made both and still had time there to run some play the foul game with Atlanta, use their timeouts to advance the basketball, all of those things. You never know what could have happened. And for the officials to miss that one, that's on them. Yes. And that's where I wanted to go with the unsung hero, simply because it's their own mistake by not calling the foul when it happened, when the inbound occurred. And again, that's their fault. They should have to answer to that later, not for 2 missed calls that they had on one particular play. Then the other one that I was questioning a little bit because of the Dominic Barlow attempt for the rebound. I thought they missed 2. I thought they missed one when Jalen Johnson had it was around the cylinder and he tipped the ball in and it was on the rim. I thought they missed that one. And then I also thought that, and this was more 50-50 than the other 2, that when Dominic Barlow was going for that one play that Nick Nurse did challenge, where Kareem told him to challenge it, that his hand was pushed into the net, which caused him to pull on the net and the rim. All right, that's more 50-50 than anything because he's underneath the rim. So look, his hand might have already been there. He was going to touch it anyway, and then they smacked his hand into it. However, those 2, the tip in from Jalen Johnson, that was
clear.
Doesn't have to be over the cylinder. It has to be on the cylinder. And it has to be off in order for that to count for the 2 points. And then that clear one there. So that's my reason for the officials. And I generally don't complain about the officials all that much.
Oh, no.
Tonight, in that fourth quarter, I thought they were bad.
No, I hate complaining about the officials, in part because there's so many different things you could have done to win the game, even in spite of that. Like every now and then you're going to have to overcome bad officiating. It's the nature of the human nature of the sport. You have to play through it. You have to overcome it. And I also want to be like, well, when I complain against the refs, I want people to know that I'm really pissed off, not just complaining about the refs is kind of my thing. Because I think for a lot of players or a lot of fans, even a lot in the media, you always complain about every call that doesn't go your way, and you never complain about the calls that go in your favor.
Yeah.
That being said, these were some egregious missed calls. And do I think it's the reason the Sixers lost the game? No, they should have been able to overcome it. But
it's a story though now.
Not happen. Yes.
Because I see, and people are right. Like Theo saying the bench, Yeesh, Lost Sleep TV, the bench. You're absolutely right. But they were in it. When you have possessions there in the final 30 seconds, that means something's still available up in the air. The win is whomever's at that point. It could go either way. Those things cannot happen. Is that the reason why they lost, as you said, Derek? No, but it's a story now of why they lost in the end over some blatant missed calls by the officials. And like Lost Sleep TV says, if you think the refs suck, please hit that like button for us. Yes, please show the NBA refs that they need to do a better job. Yeah. So So in that one, so here's what I didn't, because I knew the Sixers did not get that one challenge to go on the Dominic Barlow goaltending with pulling on the rim. But did I forget one that they missed before, or was it because of the time that they could not challenge that one again? I mean, the two that I don't remember the exact challenge date, but the 2 goaltends that I remember were those back-to-back ones. Yeah, but he only used one challenge though, didn't he? I would have to go back and I would have to go back and look at it. And look, the officials could have huddled up and decided to let's check on this one, just like they did with the other one. And they did that. They did not. I don't know, man, but that one was certainly bad. There were a lot of really good performances in this game on both teams, and that one for it to happen and play out that way. Look, Quentin Grimes still had a really good opportunity, a really good look there at the end from the corner. I thought it was going to bounce in the way that it hung in the air and then bounce off the front of the rim into the back and eventually fall over the rim. But Sixers lose 120-117, now 14-11 on the season. They get 4 more days of a break, get Tyrese Maxey back, hopefully, when they come back. But this one was another nail biter and another tough loss for the Sixers. That was our unsung hero, the officials. Bad calls in the end, presented by Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing. Let Togo handle the work that gets in the way of your work. You call the plays, we execute there at Togo. So I can't wait to see what the official report is after the game, to see what they say about that particular no call there at the end. All right, let's get back to the main thing now here on this one, Bree. So Derek can start off with VJ Edgecombe. Yeah, so I'm going to come away probably a lot less angry than most of the fans here. Angry at the refs, but not too angry at the team. And a big reason why is because of VJ, right? Like I think VJ is so important to not only this year, but to the next decade of Sixers basketball. And I thought he faced a lot of adversity early on, picked up those 2 fouls. Sure, his fault. Like he shouldn't have gotten caught like that. Had to come out pretty early. I think he only played the first 5 minutes of the first quarter. I was shooting I think 1 for 6 from 3-point range.
And even while he was shooting 1 for 6, I'm like, man, he's making some strong moves to the basket. Like if he ever gets his 3-point shot going, the one I specifically remember was when he took, I think it was Daniels, to his left, and beat him off the dribble pretty handily and made a tough contested layup with his left hand. It's like, man, he's making some really good moves. If that perimeter shot starts falling, he has a chance to turn this night around. Now, when I say turn this night around, I think 24 points and whatever he ended up finishing with. No, I didn't think it was going to be that strong, but I thought it was one of those good process outside of the fouls, good process, not necessarily the results you're looking for kind of games. And then, man, did he turn it around in a big way in that third quarter. Hit, I think, 3 straight threes there. Was really, really confident in that shot. Some pretty tight contests, one of them off the dribble. It is really impressive to me to see a guy who had so many shooting question marks coming into his year at Baylor, even had some question marks coming out of Baylor into the NBA draft, to start a game off 1 for 6 from downtown, then still be like, no, I'm taking this open 3. And after I make that 3, no, I'm taking this contested catch and shoot 3. And I'm taking this off the dribble 3 to help get my team back into the game. For him to have that kind of confidence. And also, like I said, I think this was one of his better finishing games at the rim. And to combine both of them into one game and 2 nights in a row or 2 games in a row where you're playing without Maxey and he steps up in this way. These were 2 of the most complete games he has played since that, incredible start he had to his Sixers career. And to do that consistently when you need it in a big spot, it's really, really impressive. And it really does, Tyrese might come back. He might go back to averaging like 15 points or whatever. But knowing that he has that kind of confidence and that he's worked on that shot enough to continue taking those shots, it really, really, really makes you excited for the future. And I think he can really be a great backcourt mate alongside of Tyrese for a very long time.
I agree with you. And obviously we're presented by Bet365. So selfishly, I was thinking about my 14.5 over total for VJ Edgecombe as he's sitting on the bench with 2 fouls early on. And then he changes it. But as you say that, Derek, because he started off the season red hot and he's averaging at that point, I think it was like 24 points through that first five games. And he was fantastic and he started to tail off. And we're thinking, yeah, we know he's going to hit some point where things start to go down a little bit and all of that. Why would that, when he did hit his tough stretch there, then he misses some games with the calf injury. Why do you think now at game number 25 in the books overall for the team, I believe he's at 21, 22 for the season so far. Why do you think that when Maxey comes back in this particular instance, because while I'm with you, I can't wait to see how the future looks with these 2. They're still right in the mix. If they would have won this game tonight, they could have moved up to as high as the fourth seed in the Eastern Conference with the victory tonight at 15-10. Instead, they're 14-11, still right there in the mix. But why do you think that from the troubles that he had there in between that end of the 5th game to where we are now, being the running mate to Tyrese Maxey, couldn't figure things out. Still made plays, helped win games, big shots in the end, good defensive plays, maybe finished with 14 points, 12 points, 17 points, whatever it might be. Why do you think that these 2 games in particular will help him when Maxey comes back in understanding how to play off of Tyrese 20 now games in versus where he was before?
I mean, I think it really just shows how much that confidence matters. Like, he was always going to hit a wall at some point in his rookie season. He was always going to struggle. Teams are always going to counter, try to take away what he was doing well to start. But if you have enough, you've put enough reps and you have enough confidence in the jumper, eventually that shot was going to come around. And then I just think fundamentally his plan of attack on how to get to his spots off the dribble and how to get all the way to the rim, he's showing that he can learn on the fly. So I think it's a little bit of, he's going to have some streaky times with the shot, and my cat is absolutely losing his mind. He's going to have some streaky times with the shot, and he's making them now. But also I do think he's adapting. And, some of the scouting report that worked in the 2nd and 3rd and 4th week of the season isn't necessarily working now. And when you have to defend that 3-point shot like you do with him now, and I think teams realize they have to defend him at a 3-point line, and it opens up those driving lanes. You've got as much athleticism as he has. He doesn't need to completely overhaul his dribble drive game. He just needs to take the right angles. He needs to, alter his pickup points just a little bit. He needs to know where the help is coming from so he can anticipate it and get the shot up off the glass. He is more effective finishing at the rim. He's been more effective getting the free throw line. And look, I still think he's going to have a point where he's just going to struggle. That's the nature of that's the nature of any NBA season, but especially for a rookie, he's probably going to get to a point where he has dead legs again. And I think probably the rest that he's gotten here in this, kind of unnatural NBA Cup schedule has helped him in that regard. But I just think he has the approach to, adapt to what defenses are giving him. I think he spends enough time in the film room to see what they're doing. And I think he spends enough time in the gym to have the confidence to keep on launching even when, he's struggling to convert. So I just think this is in part why, we talk so much before the draft about why mentality and work ethic and attention to detail matter in such a big way. Because there's no player who's going to be good enough to just coast the entire season and be able to get their numbers. There's no player who's not going to have to adjust. And I just think he's so receptive to coaching and puts in so much work in the film room and on the court that he's been able to adapt quicker than most.
Yeah, really good. And it's funny, as you said, he was much better finishing at the rim. I can remember vividly the play that you're talking about where he drove left, scoop layup with Dyson Daniels right there.
Over an incredible defender.
Yeah, it was amazing finish. And then and as many as he did make, I can think back to 2 or 3 where I thought he left his feet too early again, and he thought he was fouled, falls to the floor, no foul call. They go back the other way. They're running, and we talked about the transition defense a little bit early on in the pregame show. That is something that, again, he will continue to get better at, because while we'll point those out, we did see, just like everyone else, that there were a few where I thought he could have finished much, much better, did not get the call. And that's okay, because as you pointed out, this is a tough one, nail biter, another thriller that they played. I'm not mad, though. I was just a little disappointed of how it ended, with the officials not letting them play it out between the two teams instead of what happened. And VJ Edgecombe was tremendous. He scored at 17 in that third quarter the way that he did. And to find that confidence out there with Embiid and George once again, and it has to feel good for him knowing that those two vets are always looking for him to get his shots. And before, when we talk about he would defer quite a bit to especially Embiid, he does it sometimes, but then there are those other times where we see him just grab the reins and go. And that 17-point third quarter, which is the most in his career in a quarter, in any quarter so far in his early young season and his young career, fantastic performance from VJ Edgecombe. When we come back, we'll talk about a temperature check for someone tonight. He was hot tonight, and we have to talk about that guy, the Ace Hardware temperature check. He's probably also the player of the game. He was that good. You all know who we're talking about. We'll discuss him when we get back. Sixers fall 120. Yes, good call by you. 120-117. The Sixers fall to the Atlanta Hawks, now 14-11. They would have moved up tied with the Boston Celtics for the number 3 seed. Instead, they fall back to the 7th seed, tied for the 6th spot in the Eastern Conference. It just lets you know how tight things are in the Eastern Conference and the ground the Sixers can make up when and if they get everybody back out there on the floor together. That's Derek. I'm Devon Bree is with us. We'll be right back as we hang out with you. Sixers fall by 3 on the road to the Hawks.
All right, folks, we're less than 2 weeks away from the big day. Yes, the gift giving, and we all know the feeling. You walk into a jewelry store, you're trying to pick out something for your partner, and suddenly, boom, you're in over your head. You're thinking, what's the difference between all these diamonds, or what if they don't like it? Yeah, it can be stressful. That's why working with Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design has been such a game changer. These guys make the whole process seamless. From the minute you walk in, they treat you like family. They're actually listening to you, help you figure out what they'll love, and then their team designs something completely custom right there in-house. No pressure, no pushy sales vibe, just good vibes all day, and they'll never forget you, something you'll be proud of with that gift giving. So next time you need the perfect piece, go see Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design. 30-plus years in the game, voted Philly's #1 jeweler year after year. Over 1,000 5-star reviews. That speaks for itself. Check them out today at BucciJewelers.com and tell them the guys at PHLY sent you.
And guys, maybe you're coming home, watching the football game. You need a go-to beverage. Maybe you just had a long day of work and you're sitting there and you need something to take the edge off. Everybody's got their favorite hard tea. But have you turned the can to read what's actually in it? You can't, because usually they don't tell you. And while they hide what's inside, Crooked Tea brags about it. Crooked Tea brews real USDA organic tea for real flavor with 0 sugar. No fake junk hiding behind the label. What you see is what you drink. And that's part of what makes Crooked Tea some of the best beverages you can buy. Next time you're at the store, flip the can. If you can't find the ingredients, just put it back. Then grab a Crooked Tea, 0 sugar, real tea, and fully transparent. And you know, in Philly, real recognizes real. So why drink the fake stuff? Crooked Tea. The only thing better is a strip sack in the Super Bowl. Visit crookedtea.com to find a store near you.
And we're back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. 120-117. Hawks win, taking down the 76ers in this one. All right, let's get to the Ace Hardware temperature check. The Ace Hardware temperature check presented by Ace Hardware Home Services. And we got to talk about this. Make sure you visit Ace Hardware Home Services online for your next project. All right, Derek, we got to talk about the guy that's heating up. And tonight he had a Sixers career high. Paul George, 35 points on the night. This is followed by the 24-point performance, 23-point performance that he had on Friday in their victory at home. And he was tremendous, man. To see him go through that that fourth quarter in the way that he did, where he was just tremendous. He had some tough shots. He had a banker as far as the 3 for 5 from 3, 3 free throws, 4 for 8, played all 12 minutes, 2 assists, 3 rebounds for his 14 points in the fourth quarter. And as we talked about there, just a tremendous, tremendous game by him to lead all scorers with 35. He was really, really good. And he is our guy that's pretty much, he's heating up at this point, playing in these back-to-back games for the Sixers.
Oh, he's on fire. And you brought up the third, and clearly he was incredible in the third. But in the second, too, like fourth, yeah. He erupted for 9 points in like a minute and 5 seconds to start the second quarter, too, with a couple of really tough threes as well, and then an and one. And he just came out, and the Sixers had a pretty sluggish first quarter, mostly on defense, but the offense wasn't great either. And he came out and pretty much pulled them right back into the game. And you've seen that time and time again over the last 2 games with Maxey out. He has been that stabilizing presence that nobody else on the team can really provide, because Embiid's almost intrinsically a little bit up and down because of the knee and becoming a little more reliant on the jumper to be effective. VJ had early foul trouble, and they really needed a huge game from Paul to even have a chance. And in each of the last 2 games, his shot making and his steadying force has kept them within arm's reach. Only won one of the 2. Even still, it has been a really good stretch. And then when you get to the fourth quarter and some of those like turnarounds, it's like he's not even looking at the rim at times, and those shots are going in. And his ability to make tough shots, whether it's off the catch from 3, turning around from the mid post, it's just a skill set the Sixers don't really have outside of that. And he is starting to look, he's never going to blow by guys like he did in his 20s. That period of Paul George's career is gone, but he's showing you why, even though he was older, and even though you knew he was, what was he, 34 when he signed that contract, that he had a game that could age somewhat gracefully if he could stay on the court, which obviously that if has not turned out yet. But he just right now looks more comfortable than he's looked almost at any point, with the exception of maybe like the 8 or so games in January before he ended up hurting, what was it, a tendon in his thumb, pinky? Doesn't matter. I get him and Tyrese's injuries confused.
Yeah,
mixed up.
It
doesn't matter.
Pinky. Yeah,
a tendon in his hand somewhere last year. Before then, he was finally starting to look like he found a rhythm, but then he obviously missed the end, missed the first 12 games of this year, and it took him a little while to get comfortable. He looks more comfortable now than he has at any point. And I'm not saying it's $50 million max player level of comfort, but it is very valuable two-way player comfort. And, I openly questioned whether or not I thought he could, ramp up his usage. We don't have the jar here, so I'm going to get away with this one. Whether he could ramp up his usage enough to be a number 1 option on games when one of your 2 other high usage, I'll call him be the star, one of your 2 high usage stars miss games. Well, over the last 2 games, he has done that, and he's done that pretty convincingly. I'm getting more and more convinced Like, I don't know if he can sustain being a first or second option, but if they're healthy, I think he can absolutely be a star in his role. And that's a lot more confidence than I had even 2 weeks ago.
I agree with you. I do, man. When he got the ball and you saw that he was pretty much going after it in that second quarter and then that fourth quarter, I was pretty comfortable with what he was doing and taking those shots that he took. Even the one where he had the heat check from the left wing from about the hash mark where Jared McCain found him and he just drilled it. It was like, oh, okay, it's that kind of night for Paul George. I mean, it was already happening. So who was I to be surprised? But that's exactly what I felt. But defensively, the things that you saw, the driving ability, still the rebounding, the assists, and what he is able to do scoring wise, to see these two games being put together this way, him not missing the games as much as he has. And Rich said this one a couple of weeks ago when Joel had sat out a while, and he was like, you know what? Is it crazy that I'm starting to feel more comfortable with Paul George out there on the floor than Joel Embiid? So he started to show these flashes of these things, and then he had the ankle while he was missing some games, and it's just a little annoying. But now, you said this in the pregame, he's not even appearing on the injury report anymore, and that is key, number one. Now, he's also having these 4-day gaps in between with NBA Cup thing going on, so it's going to be really interesting to see after next weekend's Friday, Saturday back-to-back what we start to see from him, how many games, what's his availability. They're going to be on the road a lot. How many of those will he play in, the travel, et cetera, of what his availability is going to look like. But, man, and I keep bringing this up with the Oubre part of it because of the defense. When you get Oubre back and Paul George is out there with him defensively, VJ Edgecombe being disruptive, Dominic Barlow, we trust him so much more with what he is doing out there defensively on the floor and offensively, quite frankly. He's like, Derek, he's getting double figures almost every night now with not just offensive putbacks and running the floor, but they'll throw him the ball. He'll have a little jump hook, a little ball fake, get a layup, and one, get to the free throw line. He's doing those things, but I feel way more confident in Paul George now that we're starting to see him on a consistent basis every night that they have a game, he's available to play. And tonight was fantastic to see him play through these things. So as you said earlier, you're not as mad as many people would be outside of the conversation we had about the lack of the non-call there on that final possession for the Atlanta Hawks. This is why, because you saw the VJ part that we discussed there, and then you see this. And then you flash back to what we saw with Joel Embiid putting up the numbers that he did against the Indiana Pacers on Friday night. These are two that we've been counting on and waiting to come back and show something where they can take over a quarter. They can carry a little stretch where you have enough depth there where Tyrese Maxey can be Tyrese Maxey. VJ Edgecombe can have his run where they go on a 9-3 run. He scores 6, and they go on a 12-2 run. Joel scores 9. And the same thing for Paul George where they go on a 14-3 run and he scores his own 9 in that. And that is, these are the checkpoints that we want to see. And it's still early enough for us to buy into it and hope that this is sustainable throughout the season once they have their full collection back out there on the floor.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really is. Two things need to happen. Paul needs to be healthy, and Joel needs to look like, not like he did before, but somewhere in between where he was to start the year and where he was before the injury. And all of a sudden, things make a lot of sense. Now, obviously, there's a lot that has to go right, but you could sort of see the vision of how Paul would fit along Maxey and Embiid if the worst case scenario didn't seem like it was happening with Embiid. And I'm not one who's going to call Embiid washed or anything like that. No. We can acknowledge that there was a lot of uncertainty, still is, and that he was nowhere near the level that he previously was, and still isn't, although he does seem to be trending at least in the right direction. Not that it's going to be linear, and I think tonight with some of the shooting, you can see why it's not going to be linear, but I do think overall the trend line is moving up. But you could just see how those skill sets, if things go right, would work. And the if things go right is still doing a lot of heavy lifting. But man, he is a very talented player and a very good two-way player. And again, is that max contract good? Probably not. But it is a very stabilizing force, really on both ends. You know, when he came back the first 5-6 games, when he was still not necessarily finding his shooting touch, we spoke a lot that his presence alone his size, his versatility, his switchability, his rotations, his knowledge of schemes was really helping to stabilize the defense. And now you're seeing it on the other side as well. He got some professional buckets here tonight.
No, he absolutely did. So Paul George, he's the one that's heating up, man. Our Ace Hardware temperature check player of the night is Paul George, who has been on fire. And he was on fire in that fourth quarter with the amount of points that he put up there with the 14, but also with those, just the shot making that he had there going back to the game against the Indiana Pacers on Friday. A really good two-game stretch here for Paul George. And honestly, a little bit longer than that. He has been tremendous for the Sixers. Great to see it. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, when we come back, we have some Super Chats. We have 2 that we have to get to here on the show. We have to talk about some other things that maybe we got to talk about Embiid. Look, Joel had a pretty nice line overall for the game, but there are some stretches in there that I'm sure we need to talk about. We'll talk about Embiid. We'll discuss once again Jared McCain and his minutes there tonight. 17-45, no points out there, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, but no points. We'll discuss it all when we get back. Sixers fall by 3, 120-117. They are 14-11 now on the campaign. We'll discuss much, much more when we get back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show.
All right, folks. Yes, with the holidays here, we talked about a little bit earlier, the gift giving. You know the moment, the one when you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car while you're shopping or at the gas station 3 states away because you're visiting family and friends. Well, I've been there too. So have you. And you need to have the greatest out there. And that is, once again, Shady Rays. We've been on vacation to Las Vegas. We've taken our Shady Rays when we've gone to cover the basketball team. Kyle's currently on vacation right now, and I'm sure he has his Shady Rays with him. So if you are in need of a great pair, and maybe you just want to have a pair to give for a holiday here, here's the wild part. If you lose them, you get them, you break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacement. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear, and the same for your loved ones that you got there. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer here. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
And guys, do you really want Jared McCain trying to post up? No, of course you don't. You want him flying off of screens and hitting threes. You want to keep your stars focused on doing what they do best. The same goes for business. You don't want your top people buried in operations, the tedious, time-consuming, redundant activities that wear them down. Togo can help any business looking to reduce operating costs become more efficient or unlock more time for their best people. From customer service and accounting to order management, logistics, admin, data entry, and even complex multi-step operational processes, we take it off your plate at a fraction of the cost. Every management starts with free process mapping and engineering, no cost, no commitment. We don't bill a dime until the real work begins. When the program starts at $1,000 a month, you're not going to break the bank. Each Togo program includes dedicated staff, custom automations, and US-based process engineers who act as your quarterback, giving you complete control, total transparency, and instant efficiency. At Togo, you call the plays, we execute. Visit harnesstogo.com, scale smarter, work faster, and stay focused on winning.
And we're back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. Derek Bodner, Devon Givens, Bree hanging out with us. We also have some super chats that we'll get to as well. But we got to talk about the big fella too, because interesting game. As soon as we brought his name up, some different things came up there in the chat. So let's get ready to talk about the big fella and what he did tonight. Derek, he was, by the way, 22 and 14 tonight. That should be a pretty good game for Joel Embiid, and you hope that you get a W out of that one. And that was not the case. 22 and 14 tonight. He shot 8 for 20 for his 22. He was 1 for 3 from beyond, and 1 assist, 2 block shots, 1 steal, 3 turnovers in 30 minutes. So seems like when these games, which they have been for the Sixers all year, Derek, these games have been close. They're stretching his time overall to about 30 minutes as far as his threshold. So with that, I see Lost Sleep TV saying Embiid was decent tonight. I see that Philly Reddick saying with Barlow starting, it helps Embiid tremendously. And then I see our buddy Vinny saying Embiid was second worst in plus minus today. and that also played a big part in their loss, obviously, with that.
I love that Vinny uses single game plus minus when it's convenient for him. But Vince absolutely knows that is a bogus stat and you should never rely on single game plus minus. It just helps his argument now, so he is going to bring it up.
So with that, let's go to Davon, aka Schoolboy Beats, and his super chat saying this: we could have been the 3rd seed. Facepalm emoji. Embiid shot super iffy as I laid out the 8 for 20. How do you evaluate Joel's game tonight?
Yeah, I think Lost Sleep TV I think it was him who said that. Probably had it right. It was an okay Joel game. It wasn't a great game. It wasn't a terrible game. It seems like Embiid's been on a, real roller coaster where he's either great or terrible, not a whole lot in between. This felt like one of the few in between games that Joel has had. He did not shoot the ball great from the perimeter. And in all honesty, he looks like he's hesitating on some jumpers that he previously wouldn't have hesitated on, especially from 3-point range, but even from mid-range at times. And I think because of that, it's leading to some, sort of like delayed ISOs where he's not attacking early. He's not even really attacking in rhythm. He's attacking late after pump faking and hesitating on a jumper that he normally would take in rhythm. And I think it's hurting him at times. So it wasn't the most efficient Joel game ever. It wasn't the least efficient Joel game ever. He just shot 4 for 21 a couple of games ago.
Yeah.
But the effort on the glass was encouraging for a player who seemed, sort of anemic from rebounding early in the season. For him to get 6 offensive rebounds, and some of them he had to really fight for, I think was pretty encouraging. He was, he was not necessarily the best at stepping out to alter shots, but he at least committed to the defensive glass in ways that, we were asking for, quite frankly, a week or two ago. Like he looked like he had a better plan. And I do agree that playing with Barlow, or at least a rebounder in that position, helps him. Because I think Embiid is doing a better job of putting his body on a man to block them out. You need somebody who can, sort of rebound outside of their space to come in and scoop those up. And Barlow helps him do that. I think this was an up and down Embiid game, where he didn't necessarily trust his shot. And it could have been a big game if he was making those. But I do think that there's a little bit of indecision that's coming from those struggles. But I don't think he was, his 8 for 20 was the reason they lost per se. I do think he helped them on the glass. I don't really care about the single game plus minus. Sorry, Vince. It was first of all, I just think the fact that he was on the court is progress. They have been very strict on he needs 2 days off before we're going to play him. Now, obviously they have 4 days off after this game, but even still playing that second game in a span of 3 days is a road that they weren't willing to cross. For him to come out after playing, was his 32 minutes a season high in the previous game against Pacers? I don't remember, but it's first time I can remember him playing that many minutes. And to come out and give you another solid chunk of minutes here tonight, what did he end up playing? 30 minutes here tonight. Just the fact that he seems to be, and I'm knocking on every piece of what I have here in the studio, my home studio, for him to be trending towards he might be a semi-normal basketball player, and I realize I probably just doomed everything right now, and also giving you effort on the glass, I'm taking that as a positive step in the right direction, even if it was nowhere near the production you got from him against the Pacers.
Yeah, and by the way, Vinny did say he played really good against the Pacers.
I know that hurt his soul to have to admit that.
But he did say it. All right. So I did too. I liked how he played for the most part tonight. There were some stretches in the course of those 30 minutes where I thought he took some questionable shots. I thought that he was trying to, and he drew enough where he does the stuff that he does to fade away and try to bait the official into calling the foul. There were a few where it didn't go his way, and he's on the floor though when they're going the other way as he tries to get the official to to blow the whistle. So that's not great. That said, you would hope that typically with the 22 and 14, that's a night that they win a basketball game when you get that from him. So encouraged that he's out there, as you said, 30 plus minutes tonight. This following the 30 plus that he had on Friday night, he's going to get another break, and he'll have a back-to-back where we know he's not going to play in both of those, at least today. I can sit here and say that. Who knows how it will all play out, but that's just my guess. This was really good to see. 1 for 3 from 3. The one that he took and made was big there late in the game. I don't want him falling in love with the three-pointer, even though I know we've talked about this in the past, and both you and Kyle have talked about getting more three-pointers up. The only issue that I had during this last stretch here was he was 0 for 17 in that few games where I'm like, all right, enough. You can't just keep hoisting them up. You got to see one fall too. Yes, early for you to keep that confidence of taking that three-pointer. But this was one that, while I'm not ticked off, and we see the stat line 8 for 20, man, it was good to see him rebound 14 boards tonight, to get those offensive rebounds, to have 9 at halftime, where I'm wondering if he can even rebound at all. This is encouraging with the Barlow piece of it. And then he's so talented, it drives Vin crazy, Vinny and people who agree with Vin of how he has played and why they haven't won. Then there are people who look at it the other way, and while they still haven't won, you talk about his game a little bit more, where you like his game and you still want to keep him around on the team. We know how talented he is. He just as we've said, he has to adjust to the new version of himself. So as he continues to, as he said, see some shots fall and do other things, he's more engaged and has confidence in what he can do in those other areas of the basketball game to help them win on those particular nights. There are so many players that are way less talented than he is at the 5 position that have to give all of this extra effort. He gave the effort, and he was just so supremely talented, all of them, that he didn't always give the effort that we wanted. Now he has to dig deep and do that on a night-to-night basis, where it's not just stepping out on the floor anymore and dropping 33 and grabbing 12 rebounds. He has to find a way to pull that out of him to give you that 25 and 10. May not be 14, 25 and 10. And on most nights, that's going to be enough for them to win those basketball games. So for 25 games into the season, seeing this type of performance, yes, I wish he would have played a little bit better, made a couple more shots in order for them to win, stay off the floor to get back to help them on defense to win this basketball game. But I am going to choose to look at more of the positive that we saw here in the end for him to finish with a double-double in a winnable game. Okongwu just had it going on. He knew he could take those shots from behind the three-point line, and Joel couldn't get out there and close. That's something we're going to have to live with a lot of nights with Embiid out there on the floor. But he has to also make those guys pay on the other end, not bailing them out by taking mostly jump shots, but also pounding the rock there on the low block and in the intermediate also, where he can still get those guys in foul trouble and give themselves a chance to get those points and then ultimately a win at the end of the night.
No, I mean, look, I don't concern myself too much with the day-to-day up and down shooting, in part because I have confidence in that shot coming around, especially if defenders aren't able to completely tee off and try to take that away from him. So what I look at a lot more than did that shot go in is, does he look like he has confidence enough in that knee to be more of a dynamic threat than he was at points last year? And there was a stretch, I think it was in the first quarter, or certainly the first half, where he came down, looked like he was kind of like flexing the knee a little bit, like he wasn't 100% sure. But then on the very next play, he, grabbed the ball, drove to his right, and he was clearly just looking for a foul. Like it was old school, foul baiting Joel, where he made a hard drive, 2 dribble drive to his right, leaned in, got the foul, took the shot, or put the shot up, fell to the floor. And if he is seeking out that kind of contact, that to me is almost more important than any shot he made or missed throughout the course of the game. That is what is going to get him back to not being prime Joel. Nobody expects that. He doesn't have that kind of burst anymore, but at least a version of Joel that can be a more consistent basketball player. I think it's going to be not to make this pun too obvious, a process. I think there's going to be high points and low points. I don't think it's going to be consistent, but I do think the last couple of games have been trending in the right direction to where it looks like he is starting to trust that a little more. And throughout the course of the season, assuming no setbacks, tough assumption to make, I know, but if that trend continues, I think he will find a way to be consistent, more consistent offensively, and to be a better version of himself defensively. And that really is the key to me.
Last one, because we have to take our final pause here. Did you want him to take that 3-pointer at the top of the key in that final possession because he was open instead of giving that elongated ball fake that he gives? Did you think he should have shot that?
Like I said,
because he got the best look. I thought he was open.
If he was in more of a rhythm throughout the course of the game, I would have said yes. But it just seems like he is in his head a little bit on the jump shots. So I didn't have a huge problem with him passing that up. But ideally, he gets back to a point where he is confident in that shot and takes it. Yeah.
Old Embiid would have taken that shot no matter what.
Yeah.
And I asked that question because those are the ones that sometimes I want him to pass up in the middle of the games too, to get somebody else a better look because he's not knocking the shot down. That one, I think I wanted them to take it just because that was the best shot. Give them a chance to get the offensive rebound if need be, because time just ran off with the ball swinging to the corner for Quentin Grimes. All right, let's take our final pause here. I see that Jess says I needed him to take that shot for my parlay. So yes, I hear you, Jess.
Always the most important.
Not mad at you for that. We'll update the parlay on the other side because we are presented by the good people at Bet365. Final segment right here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show.
Finances can be messy and confusing. Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. Start managing your finances to build the life you actually want. Monarch makes managing money simple, even for busy lives. With all of your accounts, credit cards, and investments in one place, you'll always know where your money stands without the hassle. Track your spending, savings, and investments effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. Monarch Money was named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025 and the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 five-star reviews. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHLY.
And while you're driving around here during the holidays and you're looking for the dealership with the most inventory and super lease, low lease payments in the Philadelphia area, Kia of CherryHill.com is the place to go. Choose from over 450 new Kias, including Tellurides, Sportages, K5s, Carnivals, Celtos, Souls, and more. Come pick out the gas-sipping Kia of your dreams. It's really not gas-sipping. It saves on a lot with payments anyone can afford. I've got to tell you, Kia is the hottest brand in automotive today. 7 of their models received 2025 Car and Driver Editor's Choice Awards. Kia of Cherry Hill has over 100 brand new Kias with MSRPs under $30,000 and over 400 new Kias to choose from, all of which come with the best powertrain warranty in the automotive business. That's 10 years, 100,000 miles. I know people buy Kias elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Kia today. Lock in on your savings just minutes from all bridges. Available online at kiaofcherryhill.com.
Back here on the PHLY Sixers postgame show. 3-point loss for the Sixers. We are presented by Bet365. Hope you're using the code PHLY365 when you do sign up. New customers get $150 in bonus bets. That's win or lose. Deposit 10, place a bet for 5. You get $150 credit to your account in bonus bets. It can be used on spreads, totals, parlays, futures, all that great stuff there at Bet365. Whatever the moment's never ordinary at Bet365. So the officials screwed up Bree's pick because Sixers had a really good chance to win this game, and Bree had the Sixers winning this one. I blame the officials, not Bree, on that one. Absolutely. Mine, on the other hand,
you're a winner in our hearts, Bree. It's not your fault.
Always. So hit the like button, everybody, because she is a winner in our hearts. So we appreciate you. Hit the like button, like and subscribe. Tell a friend and tell another friend. Spread the word out there for it all. Jalen Johnson did finish there with a triple-double, 10 boards, 12 assists. He didn't even look. He was 5 for 17. It didn't even look like he was really looking for his shot tonight, and he still impacted the game. That's how good he is. But Okongwu had a big night. He had how do you pronounce the other guy's name off the bench?
Yeah.
Krejci.
Yep.
I've seen him hit
the Eastern
threes.
European who can shoot the heck out of the ball.
Yeah, man, he can get hot. It's funny because he goes 6 for 9 tonight, 4 for 3. what did he have? 4 for 6 from 3, 19 points off the bench. And I know a lot of people were talking about the discrepancy with the bench tonight, and you're not wrong. But they were just really good overall. And Jalen Johnson, though, just continues to show how well he has played this season, the impact that he has on this roster. He's going to be in the All-Star team first time if he can keep this up once they start doing all the voting and all for January. But he has been really, really good this season, and he has given the Sixers fits while they're out there on the floor. But as a result, we got to talk about a few other things before we go. Let's get one haiku in here from our friend Skunk Riley. Skunk saying, "I'm sick of losing to the Hawks." This haiku is titled, "Why can't we beat these Stankonians?" Love kind of like and that makes me think of Outkast when he says that. So, fog in my thoughts, hands reach for a slipping thread, steps circle the same path. Second loss, Derek. Entertaining game against the Atlanta Hawks.
No, they've been 2 really entertaining games.
Yes, they have.
And honestly, this is a team that I think is a pretty tough matchup for the Sixers, just with their size and length on the perimeter and their speed and the way they can cover ground and the way they can switch. I think this is a pretty tough matchup, and especially a tough matchup. I know the Hawks are without Trey, but quite frankly, the Hawks have been a better team without Trey this year.
Yes, they have.
But a real tough matchup without Maxey and a lot of offense that you had to, find someone else to pick up the slack on. And that's why I'm coming away and I know someone else brought out against top seeds in the East, like the Sixers are 4-9 or whatever like that. I'm not too concerned about that right now because of how much instability they've had in the lineup and with how key players like Paul George just now finally look like they're getting back up to speed, and Embiid finally is playing, a more regular version of a basketball schedule. I'm not worried about the schedule or that record yet, in part because this, like I said, I think this was a fundamentally tough matchup for the Sixers, and especially tough matchup for who the Sixers don't have on the floor. It's not just Tyrese. I think Kelly would have been real helpful in this game. They really could have used him defensively. And there's just there is a lot of players who I think stepped up in a pretty good way. So, yeah, it's frustrating to lose these 2 games against the Hawks. But you took a good team that's playing pretty good basketball. The Hawks have struggled a little bit here over the last 5 or so. Down to the wire in 2 tight games. And, this is a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm looking for things I can take away to at least be, if not optimistic, at least give me hope. And I think the Sixers over these last 6 or 7 games have given you reasons to be hopeful. Might not mean championship level hopeful. You need a lot of really good luck with your star players, your older star players to reach that point. But that can at least give you an entertaining season, a season that fills you with a little bit of short-term hope and a lot of long-term hope because of the development of VJ Edgecombe and the emergence of Tyrese Maxey into being an MVP caliber player, at least a all NBA caliber player. So yeah, I think this was another night where it's they lost. The way they lost kind of sucked, but they played a good team, took them down to the wire, and had some really important pieces step up. And because of that, I'm just not as doomer as I think some people are. Yeah,
I'm actually good with it as well. I was looking at Phil, our buddy Kelly Oubre's agent. Phil W says if this was a tough matchup, we're in trouble. It's not that it's the style of play that the Atlanta Hawks have and the length of their players as well that makes it difficult. It's not that they're as good as Detroit or New York or even Boston for that matter, but they're right there in the mix. They're jumbled up. They're even tied with the Sixers right here as we talk about that tie for the 6th seed. At the moment, they're all 5 games back from first place in the Eastern Conference, so they're in the mix because of their length and their athleticism that they bring. Just a little bit of difficulty for the Sixers, and not just the Sixers, some other teams because of Jalen Johnson in their overall play. Some quick hitters that we got to get to because look, everybody, we want to give you the schedule before we're not saying goodbye yet. We just want to let everybody know in the event that we do hit overtime that we are back tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday for 3 p.m. shows. Bree, Derek, myself will be with you 3 p.m. once again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Hey,
we have
so
a ton to
if
talk
you're a
about.
diehard member, drop a mailbag question in that Sixers mailbag channel right now so that we have some good questions for tomorrow's mailbag.
And look, Derek,
we need
just
you
said
to
this
pull your
too.
weight around here, please.
Yes, absolutely. And look, you said it. Over the last 6-7 games is giving you confidence. So I'll even go through the 4-game stretch before the break started, where they lost to the Lakers, another close loss. We were talking 2-2 as acceptable. They went 3-1. And then these next two, we're talking 4-2 in their last 6. That's pretty good. With Tyrese Maxey missing 2 of those games, Joel Embiid not playing in all of those games either. And you have a 4-2 record in those 6 games, 4-11. As Craig says here, Sixers have played 1 game with a full roster yet. No, they haven't. Because Oubre and Watford were not on the floor, right? So they're 14-11 by not having a full roster as of yet with this group. So you're right, though. They are okay 25 games into the season to have a 14-11 record, still in the mix of a pretty good seed, and only 5 games back of the first place in the East. I don't think they're going to overtake Detroit and even New York to get that first place, but that 3 on down is in play. And I didn't know that we would be talking about 3 on down. I thought we would be in that 5, maybe 4 sometimes, but 5 on down in that range. So it's pretty good. So drop those questions for the mailbag on Monday in the Discord right now. And we'll have all that for you tomorrow, beginning at 3 p.m. on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Just some quick ones. Jared McCain scoreless tonight. Played, how many minutes did he play overall? He played 17:45 tonight. And you also had Kyle Lowry get the 8 minutes and 15 seconds because they needed some ball handling out there. Your thoughts?
I think Jared struggled in the first half. He had the one real bad foul on a 3-point shooter. And I thought he might get pulled right then and we would see him in about a month and a half. I was worried about that. Nurse doesn't really seem to be trusting him right now. And then he had like a 30-foot bomb, which for as good of a shooter as Jared is, he doesn't really have 30-foot range yet. And he took a 30-foot like catch and shoot bomb. Look, he ended up, was he scoreless? Did he end up?
Yeah, he's scoreless. Yeah, no baskets. Nope.
I do think he had a better floor game in the second half and ended up with, what was it, like 5 assists, something. Yeah, 5 assists.
5 assists.
I thought he did a pretty good job moving the ball. I thought he did a better job getting to his spots. But like I said in the pregame, I think this was a pretty tough matchup for him to try to get back into a rhythm against. I do give Nick a little bit of credit for going back to him in the second half. I was concerned he wasn't going to. And, I think he is a player right now who doesn't seem like he's 100% back physically. And is certainly, I think, second-guessing himself probably more than he did last year when he had full reign, full control over the offense. And it's bumpy right now. And, he is a player who, we've talked about before. Positionally, he's a pretty good defender. And he typically makes pretty good decisions and is in the right spots. But then somebody just rises up and shoots right over him for an easy shot. He just has physical limitations on that end. So he has to be playing a more consistent brand of offensive basketball to justify those minutes. But I also think he has to play more consistent minutes in order to play a consistent version of offensive basketball. So I think they're in a little bit of a catch-22. I said before the game that I hope that Nick eventually has a longer rope for him so that he can get back into a rhythm, but that this matchup specifically would be a tough one to do that with. So I'm not going to make any grand proclamations about either Jared McCain and his ability to come back or in Nick Nurse and his ability to play him through his struggles with this game. I think 18, given how he played, is probably about right. I would like to see him get back into the 20s as things progress.
We've hit an overtime spot here, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us on the television side. We're heading to OT at allphly.com. If you're on the TV side, we'll see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. for Mailbag Monday. Head on over to allphly.com for the remainder of the show. After the 4 days off, Derek, next Friday, back-to-back, Friday and Saturday, 1 away, 1 home. New York away, home, Dallas. Next Friday, Saturday. And when you bring up McCain, I'm bringing those up just because of the solid play that those two teams in particular have with the lengthy defenders that you have with New York. As far as guards go, off the bench that may match up with him, Clarkson, Tyler Kolek are two guards that come to mind where he might be able to have some success against them. Kolek is a scrappy player, but not a great defender. And we know Clarkson, that's not necessarily his forte as well. And then Dallas.
Look, New York stinks. He should be able to have a big night against them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't give way too much New York praise, and I get why.
Trust me. I didn't say anything. I was talking about the guards.
I'm just saying in general, over the course of our show, you give a lot of praise on New York, and I get it. If I had a relative who could play in the NBA, I would be insufferable. But somebody has to balance Devon out. New York sucks, and they should have an easy win, and Jared should score 30.
Might be tired on Wednesday if we do a red eye, quick back and forth, Las Vegas, baby. Cup finals. So
look,
we'll see.
Considering how you guys looked after your flight the last time we went to Vegas, that would be tough to pull off.
Remote broadcast, man. Remote broadcast. All right.
I have never seen Devon as politely upset as he was in Vegas. I'll just leave it at that. Very polite still, but when you know Devon long enough, a little annoyed.
I love my teammates here. Love my teammates. Me and Bree were in that airport for like 12 hours, 14 hours.
Yes, you were.
What was I going to say? Oh, quickly. We were one of the unsung hero, of course, that we were talking. First of all, player of the game, Paul George. That we didn't give that a little bit earlier. We talked about Paul George a lot with the work that he did with the temperature check, but tonight, Paul George, player of the game with the 35. He was 7 for 10 from three, man, crazy. 4 rebounds. He had a block shot. He was tremendous in his time out there on the floor. So well-deserved player of the game for Paul George. Thought Dominic Barlow was good again, Derek. I thought that Jabari Walker, man, I mean, even though the numbers don't jump out like when he had the 4 threes against the Bucks and all that, he gets like 2 offensive rebounds a game that he just snatches, goes back up for a putback. Either he makes the layup or he's getting fouled or he creates a shot for someone else, man. Just he has like 20-some games left on his two-way, and I know it's an old story at this point, but yeah, he also, those two guys, again, two-way players are good once again, man, with what they've done.
Yeah. No, and I'm not even going to say the thing that you teed me up to say. It is a good problem to have when you have two-way players who has it's both. All right, maybe your top-heavy nature of your roster, necessitates your two-way players to actually be contributors, but they have done a really good job of going out there and filling those spots with players who can be contributors. It really has, to get that kind of production at a position of need with different ways that they contribute, they did a really good job with those spots. And this was a game where, clearly that was a part of the story. And, just Barlow's activity is always fun to watch. And I think he had another, he was worst on the team in plus minus. Or
doesn't even matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Bringing up Vinny's stats, single game plus minus, don't care. He is finding a way to contribute, and I loved his effort on the glass.
Yeah. 15 and 12, I think, tonight from those two combined. And Dominic Barlow, of course, in the starting role. You had Jabari Walker play 17 minutes and 23 seconds, 4 for 6 from the free throw line. No field goals made, but his effort that he gives you on the glass and the other things that he does. He had a block shot and a steal, too, in that time out there. Dominic Barlow, he has graduated, of course, from the unsung hero. It's now, as Rich P told us, it's the unsung hero Dominic Barlow Award. And they're going to have a tough time to figuring out what that starting lineup looks like, because when Oubre comes back, there's no reason that he shouldn't have lost his spot, certainly. And both of them are going to start a decent amount just because of Embiid's absence and Paul George's absence with them not playing back-to-backs and missing a few games here and there, load management. But once, as you said, another good problem to have. Another good problem to have. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
sir.
All right, that'll do it for us, everybody. We got to get ready to break it all down and tell everybody that we're back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Once again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 o'clock, off Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, we have back-to-backs with games, and certainly we are off next Sunday as well. My mom is saying goodnight, so everybody, appreciate you shouting out Mom and saying goodnight to her. Thank you. We have to talk about the world famous. It's the roll call.
Which I completely forgot right up until this second.
Did you really? I thought when I saw you looking down outside of the cat things going on, I thought you were typing some names in there. And
by the time Kyle gets back, I will have remembered that we do a roll call at the end of every show. But unfortunately, that is not the case. We will start this off with the man, the myth, the legend himself, the single game plus minus devotee, at least when it suits him. Vincent, nice to see you in the chat.
What up, Vinny?
Once again.
He said like and subscribe, everybody. Theo says, Derek, you've got one job.
Look, I failed this job every freaking time. I'm sorry. Theo, we will say hello to you, Theo, as well, since Devon, geez, I'm all everywhere. Since Devon brought you up. Music lover, we have Nate in the chat. Lost Sleep.
What
TV.
up, Nate?
I know I saw Jess in there earlier, and
he's got the purple heart.
Marty Bones. I think I said music lover already. Mr.
Bones,
Al Griffin.
Marty Bones loves how I read the haiku.
Okay.
From our super chatter there, of course.
Yep.
Yes.
And I guess we'll just go to Skunk right there as well. Larry K, Ethan Hartley, DC Craig 76. I hate
what up, Craig?
Names. Can we please get normal names back? We got a Devon Givens in the chat. We have Marley 11th, 11ST. How the hell are you supposed to even say that? 11th. Not English. SB Cole, Tom Jackson.
What up, Tommy?
I think I'm almost at the end of my scroll wheel because again I failed.
We got Nona. I saw
Donald
Noob in
Outer
there.
Bridge. I said Winona. Keep up, Devon.
Did you say
76ers TTP. There's a bunch, but I am hitting the end of my scroll wheel because I failed again. And of course, Mom's grandchildren got to throw in there as well. Philly Reddick. I suck. By the end of it, I'll get the hang of it.
All right. Let me know if you missed any. If I missed any of these. Jazz, Sean Kopp, PHLY guy that's in there. We also had Philly Reddick, Alo Jones, music. Play that music, Alo Jones, in there. We also had that I saw Reardon in the chat. We also had who else? I saw JS Yams, Lee Nguyen, Mike Suave in there in the chat. What up, Mike? Good to see Mike in there. You said what up, Al? What up, Al?
I don't believe I did say what up, Al. No.
All right. Wawa Marvel. Sean right now. What are you doing, Sean, right now? What are you doing? We also saw in there, I saw a few other ones that I saw the name and I can scroll, but there were a lot of people in there. Ben Jammy, that was also in there. And so many others here on this night that sorry if we missed you, and we wish YouTube would fix this where we can just shout out, as we always do, the Twitter handles, and Davon, aka Schoolboy Beats, with the super chat as well. Joey Milone, what's up, Joey? Good to see you in there. Bernard McCoy as well. All right, make sure everybody that you like and subscribe to the show. As Vinny told you, hit the like button, subscribe to the show, and when you do, hit the bell icon to let you know that it is, in fact, showtime, everybody here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Tough loss tonight, but enough to keep your head up as they get ready for a back-to-back after these 4 days off for the NBA Cup break. I'm not going to bring up the team at all. As Derek said, I give them too much praise. Maybe I should have wore the hat. Should have wore the hat. I do have one where they have his hat with his signature inscribed, Anyway, I'll bring it for you. You can have it. Yes. So with that, everybody, make sure you join us tomorrow at 3 p.m. Bree, great job as always from the beginning of the show where we had to, a little audible with the Togo unsung hero with the officials throwing things off and screwing up Bree's Bet365 bet of the Sixers winning. Great job, Bree, as always. We really appreciate you. For Derek and Bree, I'm Devon. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your night. And we will talk to you tomorrow at 3 p.m. for Mailbag Monday. Get those questions in. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.